I spent 70 years believing she left me, but when I finally sat across from her again, I realized something much worse. She never stopped writing. I just never received a single word. My name is Ethan Cole. I am 95 years old. And for most of my life, I followed one rule: never look her up. Not in records, not in conversations, not even in memory, for longer than a few seconds at a time. I made that rule when I was 17 and I never broke it. People like to say time heals things. It doesn't. Time just teaches you which questions not to ask. My daughter Elena came over on a cold Tuesday afternoon. Boston cold, quiet, gray, the kind of cold that doesn't hit you all at once. It settles in slowly and stays. She didn't sit down. That was the first thing I noticed. Elena always sits. But that day, she stood by the door like she wasn't sure if she should walk in or walk away. "Dad," she said, then stopped. I was in my chair by the window. Same chair, same view, same routine. At my age, routine isn't boring, it's control. "What is it?" I asked. She took out her phone. "I found something," she said. I almost smiled. "I'm not interested." "You should be." "I'm not." She stepped closer, not fast, careful, like she was approaching something fragile. "Just look," she said. I should have refused. I had refused things like this for decades. Old names, old places, anything connected to Maine, especially Maine. But something in her voice stopped me. It wasn't curiosity, it was weight. So I reached out and took the phone. At first, it didn't mean anything, just a profile, a name, black text on a white screen, ordinary, safe. Oh, Margaret Hale. Nothing happened. No shaking hands, no racing heart, just stillness. The kind that comes when something you buried doesn't stay buried. "That's not her," I said. My voice was steady, too steady. Elena didn't take the phone back. "It is," she said quietly. I checked. "No," I said again, "she's gone." I didn't say dead. I didn't say lost, just gone. Because that's the word I chose a long time ago. "She's alive," Elena said. "She lives here, Boston." I looked at her. "That's not possible." "It is." "You don't understand." "Then explain it to me." I could have. I could have told her about the summer of 1956, about the ocean, the heat, the way everything felt permanent when it wasn't. I could have told her about the night she disappeared and the letter. But I didn't. Because once you say something out loud, it stops being memory. It becomes truth, and the truth can be wrong. "She made her choice," I said. Elena watched me, not arguing, just watching. "What if she didn't?" she asked. That question shouldn't have mattered, but it did, because it touched something I'd spent 70 years keeping untouched. "I was there," I said. "Were you?" she asked. I didn't answer, because the truth was, I was there for the beginning, and I was there for the end. But everything in between, I chose not to see. I handed the phone back. "Even if it is her," I said, "it doesn't matter." "Why not?" "Because it's over." "You don't know that. I do." "How?" For a moment, I saw it again, not clearly, just enough. Paper, ink, a sentence, Colt final. "Don't come back." I looked at Elena. "That's how." She held my gaze a second longer than usual. Then she said, "I already contacted her." Something shifted, not outside, inside. "What did you say?" "I told her who you are. You had no right. She agreed to meet you." Silence. Not the comfortable kind, the kind that waits. "She remembers you," Elena added. I shook my head. "No." "She does." "No," I said again, stronger now. "If she remembered, she wouldn't have said yes." Elena frowned. "What does that mean?" I didn't explain, because I understood something she didn't. You don't meet someone after 70 years if they still matter. You meet them when they don't. "Don't do this," I said. "It's already done." We sat there in a space that didn't feel like a room anymore, just a moment that couldn't be undone. "Where?" I asked. Elena blinked. "The meeting. Oh, Saturday, 3 o'clock, a cafe on Boylston." I nodded, slow, like I was agreeing to something small, something harmless. But it wasn't. After she left, the apartment felt different. Same walls, same furniture, but something had shifted, like the past had moved just enough to be noticed. I walked to a drawer I hadn't opened in years. Not because I forgot it, because I didn't need it. Inside there were only a few things: an old watch, a photograph I never looked at, and a folded piece of paper. I picked it up. Didn't open it. I didn't need to. I already knew what it said, every word. For a moment, I thought about reading it again, just to confirm that everything I believed was still true. But I didn't, because somewhere, deep down, there was a thought I had avoided for 70 years. What if I was wrong? Saturday, 3 o'clock, Boylston Street. I sat back down, closed my eyes, and for the first time in decades, I tried to imagine what I would say to her. The words came easily, too easily, perfect, practiced. And then they disappeared, because beneath them there was something else, quieter, heavier, more dangerous. That this meeting wasn't going to give me answers. It was going to take something away. I was 17 the summer I met Margaret Hale. 17 is a dangerous age, old enough to believe you understand the world, young enough to be completely wrong. It was 1956, a small coastal town in Maine, the kind of place where nothing is supposed to change. Same houses, same streets, same people who've known each other long enough to stop asking questions. She wasn't from there. That was the first thing everyone noticed. Margaret Hale didn't belong to that town, and she didn't try to. I saw her near the water, late afternoon, sun low, wind just strong enough to move the surface without breaking it. She was standing alone, looking out at the ocean, like she was waiting for something that hadn't arrived yet. "You're not from here," I said. She didn't turn right away, just smiled a little. "Is it that obvious?" "Yes." She finally looked at me. "And you are?" "Ethan," she nodded. "Maggie." That was it. No music, no moment. Just two names in the same place at the same time. But some things don't feel important when they happen, only later. We started seeing each other without ever deciding to. Walks by the water, long conversations that didn't seem long at the time. She talked about leaving, not the town, everything. "I don't think I belong anywhere," she said once. I didn't understand that, not then. I had never left. I had never needed to. "You could stay," I told her. She shook her head. "That's not how this works." "What isn't?" "Time." I remember thinking she was trying to sound older than she was. Now I think she just understood something I didn't. The summer moved quickly. Or maybe we did. It's hard to tell after so many years. One night, we sat by the water long after everyone else had gone home. No lights, just the sound of waves and the kind of quiet that makes you say things you wouldn't say anywhere else. "I'm leaving soon," she said. I didn't react. I thought she meant in a few weeks, a normal goodbye, something manageable. "When?" I asked. She hesitated. "Soon?" I should have asked more. Where, why, for how long? But I didn't, because part of me didn't believe she would actually go, and another part didn't want to hear the answer. "Then I'll come with you," I said. She looked at me like I had said something impossible. "No," she said softly. "Why not?" "Because you won't." "I would." She shook her head again. "Ethan, you think you would?" That should have bothered me. It didn't. At 17, you assume you're right even when someone tells you you're not. The last time I saw her, it wasn't dramatic. No storm, no argument, just a morning that looked like any other. She didn't come to the beach, that was all. I waited. An hour, two. Then I went to the place she was staying, a small house at the edge of town. The door was closed, the windows were empty, no luggage, no sound. She was gone. No explanation, no goodbye, just gone. I remember standing there longer than I needed to, not because I thought she'd come back, but because I didn't know what else to do. The letter arrived 2 days later, plain envelope, no return address. My name written in handwriting I recognized immediately. I opened it outside, didn't even go inside first, didn't sit down, just stood there like whatever was inside couldn't wait. It was short, shorter than I expected. No apology, no explanation, no memory of anything we had said or done. Just one clear instruction: don't come back. That was it. No Ethan, no Maggie. Nothing to hold on to, nothing to question. At 17, clarity feels like truth, so I accepted it. Not easily, but completely. I didn't go looking for her. I didn't ask around, didn't try to follow. Because if someone tells you not to come back, the only thing worse than losing them is finding out they meant it. So I built a story. Simple, clean. She left. She changed her mind. She didn't feel the same way I did. And I never questioned it, not once. Because questioning it would have meant admitting something else, that I might have been wrong about everything. 70 years later, that story still held, untouched, unchallenged. Until my daughter put a name in front of me that shouldn't have existed anymore. Margaret Hale. And for the first time since that summer, I found myself wondering not what happened to her, but what happened to the truth I thought I knew. People think regret comes from the things you did. It doesn't. It comes from the things you decided not to look at too closely. After that summer, my life didn't fall apart. That would have been easier, clearer, something you could point to and say, that's where it all went wrong. But that's not what happened. I went back to school, finished what I started, got a job, built a career, married a woman who was kind in ways that didn't ask questions. From the outside, my life made sense. Steady, predictable, respectable. And that's the problem with a life that makes sense. No one looks for what's missing. I told myself the story was over, that whatever happened in Maine belonged to a version of me that didn't exist anymore. 17-year-old boys don't survive into adulthood. Not really, they get replaced. But something stayed. Not obvious, not loud, just present. It would show up in small moments, a smell, a sound, a stretch of water seen from a distance. And every time, I did the same thing. I shut it down, not dramatically, not forcefully, just enough to keep it from becoming a question. Because questions are dangerous. Questions lead somewhere, and I had already decided there was nowhere to go. I kept the letter. That's the part I never explained to anyone. If I believed her, if I accepted what she wrote, then why keep it? Why not throw it away, burn it, forget it? But I didn't. I folded it carefully, placed it in a drawer, and left it there, untouched. Not because it mattered, but because it proved something, that I had been right to let her go. At least, that's what I told myself. Years, then decades. The world changed. People came and went. My wife passed before I did, peacefully, quietly, the way things are supposed to end. I stood beside her hospital bed and felt something I didn't expect. Not overwhelming grief, not emptiness, just clarity. I had loved her, in the way a man learns to love when life moves forward, whether he's ready or not. But there was a difference, one I never said out loud. Loving her didn't require me to question anything, and that made it easier. Elena was born a few years into that life. She grew up without ever hearing the name Margaret Hale. Not because I forgot, but because I chose silence. Silence is a skill. You learn how to use it, shape it, turn it into something that protects you. I became good at it, so good that after a while I stopped noticing I was doing it at all. That's the dangerous part, not the lie itself, but how comfortable it becomes. Looking back now, there were moments, small, almost invisible moments, where I could have changed things. I could have gone back to Maine just once, asked a question, knocked on a door. I could have looked for her name in records, made a call, followed a lead. I could have opened the letter again, read it slowly, carefully, as if I might have missed something. But I didn't, not once. Because every one of those choices led to the same risk. Finding out that the story I believed was wrong. And if that happened, then everything I built after it would have to be questioned too. It's easier to live with a clean ending than a complicated truth. So I kept my version simple, final, untouched. She left. She meant it. That was enough. until Elena walked into my apartment and placed that name in front of me like it had never gone anywhere at all. Margaret Hale, alive, close, real. And suddenly, the one thing I had avoided for 70 years was no longer a memory. It was a possibility. That night, after Elena left, I didn't sleep. Not because I was afraid to see her again, but because of something worse. For the first time, I wasn't sure what I would see if I looked back. Not at her, at myself. Saturday came quieter than I expected. No sense of buildup, no dramatic feeling that something important was about to happen. Just a normal day that refused to announce itself. I dressed slowly, not because I needed time, because I didn't know what I was preparing for. There's a difference between remembering someone and meeting them. One lives in your control, the other doesn't. The cafe on Boylston was smaller than I imagined. Narrow windows, soft light. The kind of place people choose when they don't want to be noticed. I arrived early, 15 minutes, long enough to change my mind, short enough that I didn't. I chose a table near the back, sat facing the door, old habit. If something matters, you don't turn your back to it. At 2:58, the door opened. I didn't stand, didn't move, just watched. An elderly woman stepped inside, slow but steady. Dark coat, light scarf, hair silver, pulled back neatly. Nothing about her looked familiar, not immediately. She paused near the entrance, looked around as if confirming she was in the right place. Then her eyes moved across the room, past one table, then another. Then, for just a second, they landed on me and moved on. She didn't recognize me. That moment didn't hurt the way I thought it would. It didn't feel like loss. It felt like confirmation of something I hadn't admitted yet. She took a few steps further in, stopped again, looked back. This time, her gaze stayed, longer, careful. Then she walked toward me. "Ethan?" she asked. Her voice was softer than I remembered, or maybe I remembered it louder. "Yes," I said. I didn't stand. She didn't either. For a second, we just looked at each other, not searching, not reaching, just looking. "I'm sorry," she said. "I wasn't sure." I nodded. "It's been a while." A small smile, polite, measured. 70 years, she said. She sat down, carefully, as if the moment itself might break if she moved too quickly. A waiter passed. We both ignored him. "I didn't expect," she started, then stopped. I waited. She didn't finish. "I almost didn't come," I said. That wasn't true, but it sounded like something that belonged here. She nodded. "I understand." Silence. Not uncomfortable, not yet, just unfamiliar. "You look well," she said. Another polite sentence, another safe place to stand. "So do you," I replied. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the truth either, because the truth was, I didn't know what she looked like. Not really. The girl I remembered was still 17, standing by the ocean, wind in her hair, eyes fixed on something far away. The woman in front of me was someone else. And for the first time, I felt it clearly. I hadn't come here to see her. I had come here to see who she became, and that was something I had never prepared for. She folded her hands on the table, looked down briefly, then back up. "I was surprised when your daughter reached out," she said. "I didn't know she would," I replied. Another pause. "I'm glad she did," she added. That caught me off guard. Not the words, the way she said them. There was no hesitation, no weight, just acceptance. "Are you?" I asked. She held my gaze, and for a moment, just a moment, something shifted. Not recognition, not emotion. Something closer to distance. "I think so," she said. Think, not feel. I leaned back slightly, studied her. There was something missing, not obvious, but undeniable. She wasn't carrying it the way I was. 70 years hadn't lived in her the same way. "You don't remember much," I said. It wasn't a question. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked past me toward the window. "I remember enough," she said. That wasn't an answer. "Do you?" I asked. She turned back slowly, and this time there was something in her eyes. Not warmth, not coldness. Something harder to name. "Ethan," she said quietly, "what is it you think I should remember?" The question landed heavier than anything else she had said, because I didn't have an answer. Not a real one. I had a memory, a version, a story I had lived with for 70 years. But sitting across from her, I realized something I hadn't expected. That story didn't belong to her, and maybe it never had. The waiter came back, asked if we wanted coffee. We both said yes. At the same time, a small accidental overlap, the first one. It passed quickly. When he left, the silence returned. Different now, heavier, no longer unfamiliar, intentional. We weren't avoiding words. We were choosing not to use them, because somewhere between what I remembered and what she carried, there was a gap. And neither of us seemed willing to cross it first. I looked at her hands, still, calm, no tension, no hesitation, as if this meeting was exactly what it appeared to be. Two people sharing a table, nothing more. And that's when the first real thought settled in, clear, cold, unavoidable. I had spent 70 years preparing to speak. But sitting across from her, I realized there might be nothing left that could be said. The coffee arrived. 2 cups, black. Neither of us touched them. For a while, we stayed in that same careful silence, not empty, not peaceful, just waiting. "I didn't think you'd come," she said. Her voice was steady, almost neutral. "I didn't either," I replied. She nodded, as if that confirmed something she already believed. Another pause. Then she asked, "Why didn't you answer?" The question didn't make sense, not at first. "I did," he said. She frowned slightly. "No," she said, "you didn't. Something shifted, not outside, inside." "I got your letter," I said. Her expression didn't change. "What letter?" she asked. The words didn't hit all at once. They settled. Slow. The one you sent," I said, "2 days after you left." She shook her head. "I didn't send you anything?" Silence. Not the quiet we had before. This was different. This one had edges. "Yes, you did," I said. I could hear it in my own voice now, that thin line between certainty and something else. "No," she repeated. "I didn't." I leaned forward slightly. "For 70 years, I said, "I believed you wrote it." She held my gaze, and for the first time there was something there, not distance, not calm, something closer to confusion. "What did it say?" she asked. I didn't want to answer, not because I forgot, but because I remembered it too well. "Don't come back," I said. Her eyes didn't move, didn't flicker, didn't react the way I expected. Instead, she whispered, "I would never write that." The certainty in her voice wasn't defensive. It wasn't emotional. It was absolute. And that's what made it dangerous. I sat back slowly. That's what it said," I replied. She looked down at the table. Her hands, which had been still the entire time, shifted slightly. A small movement, but it changed something. "When I left," she said, carefully now, "I didn't have a choice. I didn't interrupt." "My father found out," she continued. "He decided we were leaving early." "Why didn't you tell me?" "I tried." The word hung there. "I wrote," she said. I felt something tighten, not sharp, but deep. "How many?" I asked. She hesitated, just long enough to count something only she could see. 7 years, she said quietly. 1 letter every month. The room seemed to narrow. "That's not possible," I said. "I kept copies," she replied. My breath caught, not visibly, but enough that I noticed it. "I waited," she added, "for a reply." I shook my head. "No," I said, "I would have." But the sentence didn't finish, because suddenly there was a space in it, a possibility. "You never got them," I said. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. We both understood it now. The letters existed, just not in the same place. "What happened?" I asked. She didn't respond right away. Instead, she looked out the window, same direction as before, as if the answer was easier to face when she wasn't looking at me. "My husband," she said finally. The word felt misplaced, like it didn't belong in this conversation. "He knew about you," she continued, "after we married." I didn't react, not outwardly. "He told me it was better to let the past go," she said. Her voice didn't change. No bitterness, no anger, just distance. "I didn't listen," she added. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because it was too late for anything else. "So what?" I asked. "He kept them?" She nodded. "And the one I got?" That's when she looked back at me. This time, there was no distance, just something clear. "I didn't write that," she said. Silence. but not the same sense. This one didn't protect anything. It exposed it. For 70 years, I had built a life on a single sentence. Don't come back. And now I'm sitting across from her. I realized that something I should have questioned a long time ago. It had never sounded like her. Not really. You believed it, she said, not accusing, not surprised, just stating it. Yes, I replied. She nodded, slowly. I stopped writing after 7 years, she said. Why? Her answer came without hesitation. Because you never answered. There it was. Not anger, not regret. Just the clean, quiet end of something that had once mattered. I looked at her, really looked this time. And for the first time since we sat down, I saw it. Not the girl I remembered. Not even the woman she became. But the space between those two things. 7 years of waiting. And then nothing. I thought you left, I said. I thought you didn't care, she replied. Neither of us raised our voices. Neither of us moved. Because there was nothing left to defend. The truth had already done what it needed to do. It didn't break anything. It just revealed what had been broken all along. After that, there was nothing left to reveal. No hidden letters. No missing facts. Just two people sitting across from each other with the same truth arriving too late. We didn't argue. There was no point. What would you have done? I asked. The question came out quieter than I expected. She didn't answer right away. She looked at her hands, then at me. I don't know, she said. It was the only honest answer left. I nodded, because I didn't know either. That's the thing about the past. People like to rewrite it as something inevitable, as if, given another chance, they would have made the right choice. But sitting there, with 70 years between us, I understood something clearly. We wouldn't have. You could have come back, she said, not accusing, just stating it. I could have, I replied. The words stayed in the air longer than they should have. You didn't, she added. No, I said. Silence. Not heavy, not tense, just accurate. I told myself you didn't want me to, I continued. She nodded once. I told myself you didn't care enough to try. There it was. Not betrayal, not tragedy, just two decisions made separately that led to the same place, distance. We were young, she said. I almost agreed. The words were there, ready, easy. But something stopped me. No, I said. She looked up. We were old enough, I continued. Her expression didn't change, but something in the air did. Because that was the part neither of us had said out loud. This wasn't something that happened to us. It was something we allowed. I didn't want to look for you, I said. The sentence felt unfamiliar in my own voice. Why not? She asked. I could have said pride, fear, confusion, but none of those would have been true enough. Because if I found you, I said, and you meant it. I stopped. She waited. I would have had to accept it. I finished. She didn't respond, not immediately. Then I felt the same, she said. I frowned slightly. I kept writing, she continued, but after a while it stopped being hope. What was it? I asked. She thought about it. Habit, she said. That word landed harder than anything else, because hope can be defended. Habit cannot. I wasn't waiting anymore, she added. I was just continuing. I leaned back slowly, and for the first time I saw it clearly. We didn't lose each other. We faded quietly, without noticing when it actually happened. I thought about you, I said. She smiled faintly. I know. You did. She nodded. Not the way you think, she said. I didn't ask her to explain, because I already understood. I had carried her as something unfinished, something unresolved. But for her, I had become something else, a memory that had already ended. I built a life, she said. So did I. Another pause. Was it a good one? She asked. I considered the question, not quickly, not carefully, just honestly. Yes, I said. She nodded. Mine too. And that should have been enough. It should have closed the gap, given the moment some kind of resolution. But it didn't. Because what we were really saying was, we didn't need each other to become who we became. And that truth didn't heal anything. It erased something. I used to think we were supposed to end up together, I said. She didn't smile this time. I did too, she replied. Another silence. This one different. Not about the past, about the illusion we had both carried. That's not how it works, she said. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because I'd heard that before. From her, 70 years ago. By the waters. You said that once, I murmured. She looked at me. Really looked. And for the first time since she walked in, there was something close to recognition. I remember, she said, but it didn't feel like reunion. It felt like confirmation. That whatever we had been, it belonged entirely to another time, and it had stayed there, untouched. Do you regret it? I asked. She didn't hesitate. No, she said. The answer was clean, complete. I nodded. Neither do I replied. That wasn't entirely true, but it was close enough to live with. We sat there a little longer, not trying to fix anything, not trying to understand more, because there was nothing left to solve, only something left to accept. And in that moment, I realized what the silence had been doing all along. It wasn't empty. It wasn't avoidance. It was a verdict, not on what happened, but on who we had been. Two people who had a chance and chose not to take it. But we didn't say goodbye the way people expect. No long pause, no final look that tries to hold on to something already gone. We stood up at the same time. She adjusted her coat. I reached for the table out of habit, not need. "It was good to see you," she said. The sentence was simple, polite, complete. "You too," I replied. And that was it. No promises, no stay in touch, no attempt to extend the moment into something it wasn't. Because we both understood there was nothing left to continue. She turned first, walked toward the door. I watched her for a few seconds, not because I was trying to memorize her, but because I was realizing I didn't need to. The version of her I'd carried for 70 years wasn't the one walking away, and never had been. The door opened, closed. And just like that, Margaret Hale left my life for the second time. I sat back down. The coffee had gone cold. I didn't drink it. There didn't seem to be a reason. For a while, I stayed there, not thinking, not remembering, just present. And then, slowly, something shifted. Not the past, the shape of it. For 70 years, I believed I had lost someone, that she had been taken by time, by distance, by a decision I didn't make. But sitting there in that quiet cafe, I saw it clearly. I hadn't lost her. I had lost the version of her that only existed in the one place. 17, by the water, unfinished. And that version had never grown old, never changed, never made mistakes, because I never allowed her to. The real Margaret Hale, the one who wrote letters, who waited, who stopped, I never knew her. Not really. And she never knew the man I became. We weren't separated by time. We were separated by everything that happened after. I stood up eventually, left the cafe. Boston was the same as it had been that morning. Cold, gray, unconcerned. People passed by without noticing. And for the first time since I was 17, that felt right. Because whatever story I thought I was part of, it had ended a long time ago. Not today, not in that cafe, but back in 1956. I walked home slowly, no urgency, no weight. Just a quiet understanding settling into place. When I got inside, I went straight to the drawer, opened it. The letter was still there, folded, unchanged. I picked it up, sat down. This time, I opened it carefully. The paper was thinner than I remembered, the ink slightly faded. But the sentence was still there. Don't come back. I looked at it for a long time, not reading, not reacting, just seeing it for what it was. Not a command, not a truth, just a moment, one that I had taken and turned into a lifetime. I folded it again, placed it back in the drawer, not because it mattered, but because now it didn't. I sat there a little longer, then leaned back, closed my eyes, and for the first time in 70 years, I didn't try to imagine what might have been. And because there was nothing left to imagine, only something to understand. That some people don't stay in your life as who they become. They stay as who they were when you needed them most. And maybe that's the point, not to find them again, but to realize you never really lost them. You just never met the person they became. Some reunions are not meant to begin again, but to understand that everything had already ended a long time ago. And sometimes what we let go of is not a person, but a version of our own memory.